So if there's one thing that you're going to do, you are not going to listen to the Google advice. You're going to listen to us. We're professional dog trainers. We've been doing this a little while. You're going to, instead of sticking your hand in the food bowl, when you approach your dog and he has food, you're going to throw a little piece of cheese in there. You're going to throw some chicken in there. You're going to throw some bacon in there. That's how you're going to teach your dog. I'm not a threat to your resource. We're friends. If I approach and you have something valuable, I have something better.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Dog Sense. And I'm here with my co-host, Sarah, who is coming from Colorado. Sarah, I miss having you in studio with me.
I know, but this will be fun. We'll be able to do more episodes now that we're able to do it this way as well.
This is true. This is true. All right. So Sarah and I are both super excited for this topic because it is about feeding.
It's the basics. Like we're going over literally how to feed a dog.
But we're not going to talk about nutrition. We decided that we will leave that lane to the experienced people who are nutritionists and experiencing calories and all of that stuff. We'll do an episode one day on what we feed our dogs and all the supplements because there's many of them. But let's just stick to how to feed a dog the proper way, the proper equipment. And so I think we should just start with the number one thing you need, which is a bowl.
Yes. So, and also different types of bowls. And we can go really detailed into a lot of this, but the different types of bowls. So, and again, because we've been doing this for quite a few years, I won't mention how many years Kathy has been doing it, but we've heard everything. So there's certain things that when you are just picking a bowl, there's a lot of different things to consider. Is it a metal bowl? Is it a ceramic bowl? Does it have a non-skid pad on the bottom? There's so many different things that can go into just picking a bowl for your dog. Is it raised?
Yeah, the elevation thing is a question. And again, that would be something to discuss with your vet. But what I understand is the elevated food bowl, which I did years ago. I think they've said it doesn't really help with the thing that you thought it was going to help with. And I think primarily bloat, but do not quote me on that. Look for studies, talk to your vet. But my dogs do not eat an elevated bowl. They also don't eat out of plastic because plastic has chemicals in it. And we have seen that it could turn a dog's nose from dark colored to pink or lighter colored. So for me, my preference is a stainless steel bowl. If it gets knocked over, it's not going to break like ceramic. I prefer a stainless steel bowl. However, I really prefer a puzzle toy. They have a lot of them and they are actually puzzles. They look like little mazes. There's also one called a green feeder. It looks like, I don't know, it sticks up in the air like blades of grass and the food hides in there. There's also a wobble toy that Kong makes. They can knock it over and the food falls out of it. For me, if I'm not training with meals, I'd rather not have it in a bowl. I'd rather put it in something to give that dog a brain and body workout because that's what we're all about, getting the dog that mental and physical enrichment that they really need.
Yeah. If you are picking between different types of just regular bowls, ceramic versus metal, some things to keep in mind is how noise sensitive your dogs are. We've heard of dogs who if their collar tags hit the stainless steel bowl, all of a sudden the dog has stopped eating and the owners can't figure out why. And sometimes it's a sound issue. So if your dog is really sensitive to noises and the stainless steel bowl is causing them to get startled, you can either switch to a ceramic one, of course, go for the food toys, which we'll get into. But also the ones with the non-skid bottoms, like the little rubber bottoms, those can help prevent the noises from happening as well. That may be making a nervous dog not as food motivated. So we've seen that as well.
Yeah, the collars on their tags banging against the metal bowls.
Yeah.
You can go to something flat. You know, it's a really good thing. If you're feeding dry food, well, first of all, we should probably say we feed our dogs in our crates. Because we want them in an area like a toddler in a high chair. You're in the crate. Here's your food. Ready to go. You got 15 minutes. And in our multiple dog households, it's actually critical because we never want to have fights over food. And so we prevent that by never having the dogs feel like they have to eat super fast to keep it away from the other dog. So we put them in their crates. And so if you have a dog who does eat in the crate, this next suggestion, which is ditch the bowl and just scatter the food in the crate, it's a really good one because then the dog is performing a little Easter egg hunt, right? They're looking for their kibble and it really mirrors what they would do in the wild, right? They would be foraging. They wouldn't show up at a spot every day and have their food show up in a bowl. So I like the idea of foraging as a brain game and a body game. You could also roll it up in a hand towel and give them that. I mean, unless they shred and eat towels, and they could nudge that open and try to find the food inside. I feel like it really gives them that success, that sense of accomplishment, as well as giving them their meal.
Yep. Along those lines too, going into the kind of the food toys. So there are actually the wobbler, like you had mentioned, Kongs, West Paw Topples. There are so many different puzzle toys out there. There's an aspect that comes from just dry, just dry kibble being in those, and also doing frozen food toys too. The reason why you would pick a frozen food toy over something a little bit easier is if your dog's really quick and they figure out the food toys really quickly and you need them to be occupied a little bit longer. That's where we'll then switch to some frozen food toys. We have an awesome recipe book for this. We'll put the link in the bio for that for kind of Kathy and I's like top recipes for what you can put in the food toys if you're going to freeze it. Ton of fun recipes in there for that. The next step would kind of be slow feeders. So Kathy, like if you're going to suggest one of your students to use a slow feeder, what would be some of like the warning signs that you would see that would let you know, hey, maybe we should try the slow feeders instead of a normal bowl?
The gobblers, the gulpers, right? Yeah. So the dog that's inhaling all their food. And because I really worry about bloat. And it's a bigger dog, the medium to bigger dog, but I don't like to see the dogs inhale like that. And then if they eat that fast, then I worry, anyway, is there a resource guarding issue here because the food goes down and they're getting protective of it? So I like to prevent that. I just will do a puzzle toy or I'll train with the meal. Also, I want to say that my dogs in the morning get a puzzle toy that's frozen. So I don't know the brand. It looks like a maze. And they eat raw in the morning. So I pack their raw food in it. I freeze it overnight. And then when I give it to them, they're just like licking their raw meat snow cones. And then I can get the two out. And then while the two are eating, and then I can switch dogs. And so again, they're sort of waking up and having a challenge. And I find that it really makes them tired and it makes them happy. Like they've achieved something. It's my preference for feeding a dog for sure.
Yeah. All right. So we've gone over kind of like the different bowls, slow feeders, food toys that you can use. Now, our favorite way to feed our dogs is by training them. So there's an aspect of hand feeding and training for meals. Do you want to go over kind of like what are the benefits to hand feeding your dogs, which would also lead to training?
So you're getting your training session in and it's morning or night and they're hungry, right? So you're leveraging what they want into what you want. It's just amazing. And it makes the dogs feel so excited about training because training yields food. Now, this is not depriving them of their food, not at all. But I was going to feed them anyway. So, hey, why not play some games? We'll play the get it game. We'll do stays. We'll do healing. Like, they love it. And you're going to love it too, because you get what you want, which is at the end of the day, a dog who's very bonded to you, thinks you're the best thing ever, and has some training skills. I also like hand feeding for the puppies that might be a little bit nippy. They grab food. So then I'll roll right into slow feeding them, like the Zen treat game where we lower it. And if they're calm, we give it to them. It helps them go from wild brain to calm brain. And it also makes them a little better about grabbing food out of your hand and pinching you and being a little bit too puppy rough. So hand feeding really serves a lot of things.
Yeah, absolutely. And that can also lead us into one of the other things that we wanted to mention when we're talking about how to feed your dog is because all the time, people who Google certain things will be told to put their hands in their dog's food bowl. Please never, ever, ever do this.
Well, it's a story near and dear to my heart because back when I started training, which we will not mention when that was, my first dog, somebody said, you want to teach him you're in charge. So when he's eating, stick your hand in the bowl. And I did. And he bit me in the face. Yes, he did. Like bleeding.
Yeah.
And I didn't have any money because I was living, just recently left the house after high school. So Irish Spring soap and a little Neosporin and close that sucker up with some tape. Not recommended. But when I'm definitely think about it from people terms, right? So you're sitting down, you're having your dinner, I'm eating, and Sarah comes up and she takes away my plate and I'm not done. I'm like, really? And I like Sarah. So I'm giving her the benefit of the doubt. Then she comes by and she gives me my plate again. And then she takes it away again. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to be ready for my fork next time because stop taking my plate. And now you're making me feel differently about you. You're making me feel that when I'm eating, I better protect my stuff because I didn't know you could take it. Actually, what we really want you to do is when your dog is eating, maybe walk by and drop something higher value into the crate. So they're eating kibble, you walk by and you shove a piece of chicken in there, shove a piece of cheese in there. And then the dog says, oh my God, I love when she comes by because she has better stuff. So if Sarah, when I was eating, walked by and dropped $100 bill on the table, she came back and did it again, I would stop eating and be like, hey, Sarah, I am thrilled to see you. What do you have for me? So she's conditioning a response that would be, yay, instead of get away from my stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And the next thing we always hear is, oh, I did it with my old dog and he was fine. Listen very carefully. With a dog with a sound temperament who was never going to have an issue with resource guarding, sure, you can stick your hand in their food bowl, you can open their mouth, you can do whatever, you can pick up their bone, whatever. With a dog who is never going to have an issue with it in the first place, yeah, sure, he'll be fine. But if you have a dog who, and this is well-bred dogs from personal experience, and also your rescue dogs too, the ones who came from the shelter where you don't know genetically what's in them. If a dog is predisposed to guarding and you then start playing those games with them, you are creating a dog who resource guards. You are teaching them to resource guard, where if you had followed our guidelines and instead when you approached, because sometimes you do have to pick up their food bowl or whatever the case is, throw something higher value, create a positive and appetite response to when you approach and they have their food bowl. Don't create conflict in that moment. Even with a dog who might never have an issue with resource guarding, you should still be proactive with this. Whether you're listening to this episode and you have a new adult rescue dog or you have a new puppy from a breeder, whatever the case is, be proactive. Set yourself and your puppy up for success. If you're ever going to approach their food bowl, teach them it's because you have something higher value. It's not because you're going to mess with their food bowl.
And this is why we want them eating in their crates. We don't want kids laying on them. We don't want somebody coming close to their bowl because you might not know you have a problem. And can we just say, dogs change. The dog you have today could be different tomorrow because he has a toothache you don't know about, or a cracked rib, or an abscess, or something. And so if you just go about your day, not reading your dog, not paying attention, and thinking they're the same, that's how people get hurt. And maybe not you, and maybe not your family, but maybe somebody who comes over. So you've got to watch. They are animals. We love them so much, but they're animals. And as far as training the dog that you have now, that's another thing. People tend to say, oh, my old dog, or I wanted a dog. It doesn't make a difference. You have the dog you have. So train the dog that's in front of you, not the dog you used to have, not the dog you wish you had, but the dog that you currently have. And be aware, if you don't have good body language reading skills, then you need to brush up on them because your dog is telling you everything you need to know well before that actual growl or snap or bite happens. So be aware.
So if there's one thing that you're going to do now that you've listened to this episode, you are not going to listen to the Google advice. You're going to listen to us. We're professional dog trainers. We've been doing this a little while. You're going to, instead of sticking your hand in the food bowl, when you approach your dog and he has food, you're going to throw a little piece of cheese in there. You're going to throw some chicken in there. You're going to throw some bacon in there. That's how you're going to teach your dog. I'm not a threat to your resource. We're friends. If I approach and you have something valuable, I have something better. That also goes with, we talked about feeding in your crates is the best thing if you do have a multiple dog household, but also don't let your dogs go to each other's food bowls. Don't let the puppy go eat out of your adult dog's food bowl because sure, maybe your old dog was fine with it. Maybe your dog actually really is okay with it, but tolerance changes, just like Kathy mentioned. Maybe one day your older dog is just, also there's the whole puppy pass thing, but maybe one day your older dog's just going to say, I'm sick of this. I don't want the puppy in my food bowl anymore, and he's going to go after him. So be proactive. Feed your dog separately when they're done eating, pick up their bowls, and then go about your evening.
Yep. It's separately in different rooms, but preferably in the crate. We talk all the time about dogs waking up with a fuse length, right? So you get your phone out of the charger, is 100% battery, and your dog wakes up with 100% battery, and things that happen during the day impact that. And so it might not be something physical. It might be something emotional. So maybe, your smoke alarm went off and the dog went at 10 o'clock from 100% fuse to 30%. So the dog who's usually normally tolerant around 5, 6 o'clock and chill about dinner, on that day, he might not be. So again, make sure you're setting your dog up for success. Don't take unnecessary risks. And we're certainly not saying that if a dog is growling and guarding his resources, that just throwing a higher value piece of food in it is going to fix it. That's a whole different problem. But what we're talking about now is preventative. How
Yep.
to prevent these habits from occurring. And if you already have a problem, that's the time to seek out professional dog training help for sure.
Yep, absolutely. So last thing, just to talk about another thing that's Googled often, free feeding your dog. So this can also go into like when we're talking about like how to feed your dog, times of day, I think is kind of a good thing to mention too, because of course when they're a puppy, they're going to eat 3 times a day. But also something that's important, I'll let Kathy go into why not to free feed, but for times of day when you're feeding your dog, from the beginning, you don't want to make it every single night at 5 o'clock. This is when we eat because you're classically conditioning your dog. And then what's going to happen is they're going to start whining at 4:45. They're going to start barking at 4:30 because they want their food. So try to be proactive again, vary your feeding times. Maybe some mornings they eat at 6 o'clock. Other mornings it's 7. On the weekends it's 9. Dinner time can be anywhere from 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock at night. Creating that variable schedule will help you out long term to have a dog where, if you're running late at work, the kids had a soccer game or something, if he gets fed at a different time, it's not like the end of the world for him. So Kathy, for people who do free feed, what is your advice on why not to do that?
Free feeding equals free pooping. That's
yes.
I mean, people are like, my puppy's pooping all over the house. They're like, well, how much you feeding? They're like, I don't know. I fill up the bowl twice a day. I'm like, are you kidding me right now?
Yeah.
So yes, break the internet because all of those bad pieces of advice, they're written there. Maybe by dog owners, maybe by people who aren't really dog trainers, but I'm not into free feeding. I feel like if my dog has everything he wants around him, he's not going to really need me. So that's why I don't love dog doors, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dogs can come in and out as they want. Food all the time in the bowl. Like, what do they need me for? Like to pay the bills, I guess, to buy the food and bring it home. Like, I want the dog to need something. And if I'm providing those things that he really needs, then I'm more interesting. Mm-hmm. And then I am paid attention to and I'm more fun. I'm a bigger piece of his life.
Yeah.
Rather than the person who walks through the room and, picks up the bowl and refills it and puts it back down. I see so many problems with that whole free feeding thing. And if you're going to say, oh, my dog is low body weight, needs more, or he's sick, whatever, and he needs food all the time, I'm going to say do multiple feedings.
Yeah.
Okay, every few hours. And I'm with you on that schedule thing. I don't want my dog to be like, hello, it's 4:30. I need my food, because life is going to get in the way. They're going to be boarded somewhere, or they're going to be in a medical situation where they're at the vet office. Do you think the vet office is going to feed them at 7:20 a.m.?
Right.
They are not. They're going to make rounds. So I don't want to add extra stress to my dog. I certainly don't want to add extra stress to me. And then if you have daylight savings time where you live, the clocks change, you're screwed, man. Because then the dog wants it earlier or later. And oh my gosh, it's just a hot mess. So yeah, do your dog a favor, make them flexible, make them resilient, make them amenable to change and optimistic that change leads to good things.
All right. So I think that covers everything with how to feed a dog, the basics. We can always do another episode with kind of what to feed your dog. That could be a different topic that we do. We can bring in some people who are canine nutritionists who can truly like talk to you guys about the benefits of certain types of food, all that good stuff. So for now, remember to check out the show notes. Kathy's recipe book for the frozen food toys will be in there. And if you guys ever have any questions, you can always email us info@kathysanto.com.